And as usual, just a lot of warmth and enthusiasm. So great to have you here. And thank you all for joining us today as we continue to celebrate our golden 50th anniversary season. Yay! Whether this is your first time joining us or you are a long-time supporter, we welcome you to the place to be challenged by leading speakers and to advance important ideas collectively. I'm Lisa Harris, CEO of Eskenazi Health, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Economic Club of Indiana this season. Before I introduce our guests at the president's table, I want to make sure to send a special thank you to our presenting sponsor, One American Financial, and our platinum sponsors, all of whom are represented behind me here on the banners. Some of these organizations have represented us for 15 to 20 years or more. Also a special thanks to IBJ Media for their support as a media partner as we commemorate this milestone year. Last season, our luncheon conversations often became trending topics online. Let's continue that momentum by expanding today's conversation through social media. So if you haven't already, this is one place where you get to get out your cell phones, make sure they're on, post, tweet, or like us to show your friends that you are part of the conversations here at the Economic Club of Indiana. The Economic Club Twitter handle is @EconomicClubIn, and you tweet using the hashtag EconLunch. You can also find us on Facebook at the Economic Club of Indiana. As you likely know from our pre-event email, we offer a special parking rate thanks to our friends at Denison Parking. So if you're parked over in the Plaza Park Garage, please be sure to pick up the QR code on your way out to pay a special rate, a flat rate of $12 for today. That's the usual rate for 1 hour. So thank you to our friends at Denison for that. Thank you. So now we're going to present the individuals at the president's table. Would you each please stand as I introduce you? Again, we are grateful to have One America Financial as our presenting sponsor for the season. Joining us today from One America Financial is James Yang, Vice President, Chief Information Security Officer. Thank you for being here. And grateful to One America Financial. Next, we have Alan Tucker, President of CSO Architect, a longtime platinum sponsor. Let's have a round of applause for their contribution. We're also pleased to welcome Melina Kennedy, President and CEO of Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, a platinum sponsor. Melina also serves as Vice President on the Economic Club Board of Governors. Then we have Scott Bovey, Senior Vice President and Regional President of Star Financial Bank. Welcome to Star Financial, one of our newer platinum sponsors. Thank you, Scott. And next, Kira Amstutz, President and CEO of Indiana Humanities, a statewide nonprofit that connects people, opens minds, and enriches lives by creating and facilitating programs that encourage Hoosiers to think, read, and talk. Kira is also the COO of the Economic Club Board. And finally, our featured speaker, Dr. Sue Ellspermann. Lots more on Sue after lunch. So one more round of applause for all of the members at our president's table. Thank you. As usual, you'll find white cards on your table. If you have a question for our speaker today, you can fill out one of the cards, raise it up during the program, and our event team will collect your questions. And as a reminder, you may also tweet your questions to @EconomicClubIn, and we encourage you to continue to tweet about today's luncheon. So now pick up where you left off with that conversation. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back shortly for our program. Thank you. We're back. I hope you all enjoyed the lunch. And now why we came. I now have the great honor of introducing today's guest, Dr. Sue Ellspermann. Dr. Ellspermann has served as president of Ivy Tech Community College of Indiana since 2016. She's the 9th individual to hold the position and the first female president of the college. Ellspermann's focus has been to align Ivy Tech's programs and credentials to meet industry needs and ensure access, quality, and affordability for all Hoosiers. Under her leadership, Ivy Tech launched the first Industry 4.0 associate degree and Ivy Plus Career Link, a transformative approach to career development services. Ellspermann led the development of Ivy Tech's new strategic plan, Higher Education at the Speed of Life, which focuses on scale, innovation, and agility to ensure student success and to meet Indiana's talent upskilling needs. Prior to leading Ivy Tech, Ellspermann served as Indiana's 50th Lieutenant Governor. In this capacity, she served as President of the Senate and Secretary of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. She also oversaw 6 state agencies. She co-chaired the Blue Ribbon Panel on Transportation Infrastructure and led trade missions to Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and China. Ellspermann represented District 74 in rural southwest Indiana in the State House of Representatives from 2010 to 2012. From 2006 to 2012, she served as the founding director of the Center of Applied Research and Economic Development at the University of Southern Indiana. Ellspermann's educational and workforce development experience is extensive. As Lieutenant Governor, she served as Vice Chair of the Indiana Career Council, tasked to align Indiana's education and workforce development system to meet employer needs. She also served on the Indiana State Workforce Investment Board. As a legislator, Ellspermann served on Commerce and Labor Committees and co-authored right-to-work legislation that has since attracted robust economic development to the state. In 2016, Ellspermann participated in the Hunt Keene Leadership Fellows, a program that convenes reform-oriented state leaders to study best practices and policy in education and workforce. During the 20 years prior to her tenure at USI, Ellspermann owned and operated an independent consulting firm licensed in the training and facilitation of simplex creative problem solving. Ellspermann holds a PhD and MS from the University of Louisville in industrial engineering, as well as a BS from Purdue University in industrial engineering. Her dissertation was recognized as a top 50 management research article by Emerald Management Review. Ellspermann is an active member of the philanthropic and corporate communities and serves on multiple boards. So now please join me in welcoming Sue Ellspermann.
After that intro, there's no time left to talk about anything. Sorry about that. That's when you know you're really getting old, when your bio gets that long. We got a note to self, cut that down. So it feels like a blink of an eye. 8 years ago, I stood before you as the new president of Ivy Tech, just several months into the role, and having just left state office in the role of lieutenant governor. But it has been quite a ride, and I hope today to share a little bit of that with you, but I couldn't do it without thanking so many who have helped us along the way. The businesses, higher education partners, the Lilly Endowment, and so many of funders that have been our partners, and all of the government leaders who have helped us to make the progress that we've made these last years. You've been great partners. You've pushed us to grow and to transform as we needed to serve you, to serve our communities, and to serve our state. I've admitted to many that I knew Ivy Tech as lieutenant governor, as I'd worked pretty closely with the Evansville campus before coming to this role, but I really didn't know it under the hood, and I know all my team who are out here, they're laughing about that, because I really didn't know what was under the hood until I arrived in 2016. I've become very fond of watching leaders at Ivy Tech fall in love with our mission and the opportunity to serve our students, our communities, and our employers in such a noble way. And then I have to admit to you, I fell in love. I fell in love with our mission in 2016. And that doesn't take away that I love my grandkids and my husband and all that, but I truly love this mission and what we get to do every day, and I know that that is shared by many of my colleagues. The mission, watching lives transform, helping our communities thrive, serving existing and new industries as they grow and upskill, all is the why we do the work. So I'm going to share a little bit of our story with you, and I'm going to start at the beginning. You know, we have evolved a long way. We were founded in 1963 as Indiana's vocational technical college, hence our name, Ivy Tech. Some people don't know that's where it came from. The General Assembly appropriated $50,000. Now, in today's dollars, that's maybe about $500,000, but today our budget is over $500 million a year. We started as a very humble college in strip malls across Indiana and pole barns. We had a few real bona fide campuses like in Terre Haute, and the late, great Gerald Lampkin, those who knew Jerry Lampkin, really grew us into the system we are today. In 2005, we became Indiana's community college system by the General Assembly, and in that role, we became Indiana's workforce engine. And we were structured in a way that is very unlike any other community college system in the country. We were singly accredited, and I'm going to talk more about that later. I will only tell you as a preview that 49 other states wish they had Ivy Tech, this singly accredited statewide system. But let me tell you who we are today. Not only are we Indiana's community college, we are also the state's largest post-secondary system. We expect to exceed 200,000 students this year as we're up yet again for a fourth year. 90,000 of those students are earning college credit while still in high school through our largest in the nation dual credit and dual enrollment programs. We offer more than 70 programs aligned to Indiana's employers, and we bring community employers to the table to co-develop our curricula and skills training offerings. So we know that when our graduates leave, they are leaving with the skills that are most in demand by Indiana's companies. We serve all 92 counties through our 19 campuses. Truly, Ivy Tech is within 30 minutes of almost every Hoosier, and of course, we have a robust online offering. Ivy Tech is an open access institution. This means that while we serve high-income families and valedictorians of classes, we serve many more first-generation adult and working learners, non-traditional, those who are looking for the American dream. Our students do not look like most four-year institutions. They're primarily part-time, half are at a traditional age, half are older, 40% are first generation, almost a quarter are responsible for other human beings like children and elders. 60% are Pell eligible, that is lower income. So no matter who you are, where you come from, or what stage of life you're in, you can receive a high quality industry aligned credential of value from Ivy Tech. So when I joined in 2016, enrollment was declining. In fact, it had been since the Great Recession, very much like community colleges across the country. Today, we're pleased to report the college is seeing its highest enrollment since 2014, with over 195,000 students last year. And it's been a bumpy road from the time I joined the college in 2016 through a pandemic. All of those of us who survived that, we know that was not a fun time. Hoosiers, including recent high school graduates, could get decent paying jobs without post-secondary education and training. So often we were competing with employers for our students. And while employers might have preferred workers with more skills, they were willing to hire without. That was really a wake-up call to us. We had to meet employers and would-be students where they were. We had to admit that not all students or employers who hired our graduates wanted the associate degree. Often employers hired our students after completing a few classes or a certificate. If that's what they wanted, why were we pushing all those students to an associate degree? Not to mention we were offering the specific credentials that employers valued. We had to rethink our credentials and what we were offering, ensuring that they were aligned. Now we offer a wide variety of both short and long-term credentials. Some are certificates and certifications that could take only a few weeks, while others require much longer, much deeper technical certificates and degrees. And of course, everything is stackable, meaning that it's transferable to a next level of credential, either with us or a four-year partner. But here's the numbers that I'm probably most proud of. Our completion trends tell the story. When I arrived at Ivy Tech, I asked, how many credentials of value does Indiana need us to produce? Think about that. How many credentials of value does Indiana need Ivy Tech to produce? Remember, I came from Lieutenant Governor's office. I was thinking statewide. Interestingly, no college or state university really asks that question. But isn't that the real question? We use the research from Lumina and their goal of 60% of Hoosiers having a post-secondary degree or credential by 2025. By the way, that was the Indiana Career Council where we set that statewide goal, and thought if Ivy Tech should be responsible for half of that, what would that require? And that's where our big goal, our vision in 2017 was that we would have 50,000 credentials awarded each year to our students aligned with Indiana's economy. Back then, it was 20,000-ish. Today, over 46,000. So the question I'd have you think about is, why don't we expect all higher ed, particularly public higher ed, to think about in terms of what are Indiana's needs and what numbers should those be? As we start to close in our completion goal, Ivy Tech now produces, get this, 49% of all post-secondary credentials earned by Indiana students, including graduate degrees. While many of these credentials are sub-associate or less than 2 years, they fill critical, high-skill needs in Indiana in fields like cybersecurity and nursing. Ivy Tech builds our credentials, as I said, stackable, meaning that if you earn an industrial maintenance associate degree, it can transfer towards a 4-year degree in technology or supervision or business. Or an ASN nurse who goes on to get their BSN at virtually any 4-year college. And we do this virtually every career pathway because Ivy Tech credentials are not dead ends, but accelerators for futures. We are, in fact, the state's largest transfer partner, providing high-quality, affordable bridges to 4-year institutions. We, in Indiana, are blessed to have really some of the best transfer laws, which include things like the Indiana Transfer Library, the Indiana College Core, which is really that freshman year of college, and TSAPs, which are perfect 2+2s, but that transfer between Ivy Tech and our 4-year partners. Students can save between $10,000 and $100,000 getting that associate degree before they transfer, depending where they go. And data indicate that they are more likely to succeed than transfer students from other institutions. We know that from IUPUI's research that showed that Ivy Tech transfer students did better than all other transfers, one exception, Purdue West Lafayette. Now, Purdue West Lafayette did their own study on transfers in 2018 and found that our students persisted as well as their own native student, with the caveat that our students had an average SAT score 50 points lower. Pretty gritty, I would say. And yes, you see this bar right is correct. Today, we have more transfers in from our 4-year partners than transferring out. Since 2022, we've observed a sharp increase in the number of students who are choosing Ivy Tech. I believe it just speaks to our commitment of how we serve our students and align with the needs of the economy. I would say that Indiana's high school outcomes are truly the envy of the nation. We are the nation's largest NACEP accredited institution, serving more than 90,000 high school students, getting early college credit in over 400 high schools and career centers. The majority are pursuing dual credit, where they take Ivy Tech courses that are delivered by their high school credentialed teacher, meaning they have a master's degree able to teach in post-secondary. More than 9,200, and there is a typo here, more than 9,200 students earned their first credential before their high school diploma last year, including 2,200 earning that Indiana College Core. If you're a parent out there, that should say to you, you've got a kid who's going to do a 3-year degree. Do not back off of that. They have finished their freshman year. They should be able to graduate in 3 years. That's what the value of that is. Some of our students even complete a full associate degree while they're in high school. Amazing. Hoosier students and families win, saving over $110 million every year, conservative value, which leads to Ivy Tech's most notable role, which is that of Indiana's workforce engine. We were born as a technical college, and we're proud that well over 60% of our graduates are planning to use that degree, certificate, certification, or skills training to get a job, to get a promotion, to improve their career, or get a better job and career. Our faculty are often from industry. We don't have a tenure system, ensuring our instructors are laser focused on preparing students for workforce success. We also serve the largest apprenticeship population in the nation, with over 11,000 students earning while they learn, in really the gold standard of education. Most are skilled trades, but we see this expanding into nursing, teaching, and other areas. And nearly 50% of all manufacturing credentials earned in Indiana come from Ivy Tech, including, as you heard, the Industry 4.0 degree, of which we were the first to offer. It is no wonder that companies like Eli Lilly and Samsung and Entech and SK Hynix are choosing Indiana and choosing Ivy Tech to support them. So you can see that Ivy Tech really does deliver value for students, for employers, and Indiana's economy. But for our state's community college to be able to fully achieve its mission, we need to continue to address the outdated assumptions that affect enrollment, employer recognition, and public support. So let me just hit a couple of assumptions that I believe are changing. We spend a lot of time talking about college as if it was only for 18 to 22-year-olds fresh out of high school. It is not. The National Center for Education Statistics suggests that nearly 3 in 4 college students would be considered non-traditional, meaning that they're part-time, they're full-time working adults, they have a dependent, they're over 24, they're first generation, or they're commuting. Nearly 2/3 of Ivy Tech students are specifically part-time. Despite most colleges and universities are still structured in a traditional, for that traditional student, and worrying about the enrollment cliff. I just say there's 2 million Hoosiers out there who need more. They just don't happen to be 18 to 24 years old. And spoiler alert from a college president, not all great careers require a 4-year degree. Think cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, healthcare. Unfortunately, we have told all K-12 kids and their families, you must go to college, which wouldn't be so bad if that didn't assume their only option was a 4-year degree. The reality is far more complex than that. Ivy Tech recently engaged Techonomy, a global leader in economic development research with deep connections to Indiana. We wanted to understand the skills that would be needed here. Techonomy found that over 80,000 Hoosiers each year will need upskilling. That means from what they're doing today, either to reskill or upskill. That is incredibly important. They will be needing short-term credentials, skills training, certificates, certifications that will ensure their skills are relevant in today's knowledge economy. And while we hope that many of them will eventually pursue an associate's or a bachelor's, it's really that they need to be pursuing and what they will be paid for, not just focused on degrees as a be-all, end-all. This approach is aligned with an increasing number of employers who have moved to skills and competency-based hiring, including our very own state of Indiana. So our enrollment is something that looks quite different than what you might think about enrollment, and we've decided we're just going to look at it in a new way. So when we talk about enrollment, we see these 3 circles. Undergraduate, which are 2 to 4 year degrees seeking students, the orange circle, but they don't know that this population represents, what you may not know is this doesn't represent but exactly about half of our total enrollment. We're pleased that more high school students than ever are earning college credit, saving them that costly tuition and time and seats, and including getting that Indiana College course. So you can see there's that 91,000 students who are earning in things either dual credit or dual enrollment. But the most significant change we're seeing is in the workforce circle. Employers are asking us to take on an ever bigger role as economic, technological, and demographic factors transform the workforce. Sometimes that looks like empowering students to receive employer-sponsored on-the-job training through Ivy Tech, as we do with more than those 10,000 union trade apprentices each year who earn an associate degree. Other times, it looks like removing the financial barrier that employers will pay as they sponsor their employees to come to Ivy Tech for further education. And what a great way to receive your education. And finally, the fastest growing area of the college is our skills training, or that non-credit adult offerings. Skills training has often been considered the stepchild in higher education because these are short-term focused programs designed to teach job-specific competencies or technical abilities. And for too long, these courses didn't count as academic credit towards a degree. Well, what's different at Ivy Tech is we recognize and we will crosswalk these skills to credit in whatever way we can, sometimes as up to 10 or 12 or more credits by having a number of skills training. Can you imagine if you were the student who came from your company to take a QuickBook class and you realized afterwards, oh, that QuickBook class, that certification I earned in QuickBooks will count as a 3-hour elective in my business or accounting program. And let me just say, at Ivy Tech, we are mostly agnostic between degrees and skills. We will do what is best for employers and students, but as times change, we will change with them. Or you might say, as Bob Dylan said, the times are a-changin', and we're going to change along. So all of this is leading us to a redesigned post-secondary system that is for all learners, where Hoosier high schoolers can earn that college credential before they even have their high school diploma, where employers can help lead their employees can help lead their employers into the future without taking on that burden of a lot of debt, and they're more likely to stay and be loyal to that company. When anyone, regardless of what life has looked like so far, can have the opportunity to write a new chapter, such as the 1,600 Ivy Tech students who are incarcerated. We don't call them inmates or offenders. They are students who are incarcerated in 15 of Indiana's correctional facilities. That's when we know we're changing lives. So none of this would be possible without Ivy Tech's superpower. Our status as the nation's largest singly accredited statewide community college system. So you might be thinking, Sue, what does that mean? So that singly accredited means that an Ivy Tech degree or certificate is the same at all of our 19 campuses. So if you started at one, you could finish at another. It means an employer knows what our students know and can do regardless of what campus they studied in. It means that a student can transfer seamlessly between our campuses and with our four-year institutions with whom we have those transfer agreements. Single accreditation is one of the reasons Eli Lilly is partnering with us to fill a 1,000-person talent pipeline. It won't be one campus, it'll be 4 or 5 campuses in central Indiana supporting them. It's why Samsung named not only 2 battery plants in Kokomo, but then in New Carlisle, where our South Bend campus was, because they know it'll be the same training for their battery employees. It's why today Ivy Tech sits at the table with the IEDC to assure prospective employers can meet their workforce supply with, and I can say this to a CEO, 1 Ivy Tech campus or 19 Ivy Tech campuses, however many you need to fill that workforce pipeline. It's why Ivy Tech will soon produce 2,000 registered nurses each year for Indiana's healthcare workforce. In fact, 1 in 3 RNs in Indiana has a degree from Ivy Tech, and our ASN program is the largest in the nation. No other state in the nation has achieved that superpower. Many are trying, including the state just to the south of us. Ivy Tech is so thankful for the foresight and the vision of our Indiana General Assembly, which built us this way. So Ivy Tech is special. We're funded to be the most affordable institution, not to be confused with lower quality, but highest value. We are tasked to upskill and reskill Indiana's workforce in high school, traditional age, and 2 million Hoosiers without a post-secondary credential. We operate at scale, meaning we can have multiple campuses, serve an employer that has needs. And we don't take multiple years to stand up curricula. We do it in weeks or months at the speed of life. If accreditation takes too long, we will stand it up as a skills training and then crosswalk credit when that program is accredited. Maybe the best kept secret is our graduates. Not only do they stay in Indiana, over 90%, but four of five will graduate with no debt. Empowering them to provide their families and grow their generational wealth while giving back to their community. It has been just an absolute pleasure to serve in this role with Ivy Tech. I can say absolutely that, and I'm gonna embarrass my team. If you're an Ivy Tech employee, I want you to stand up. Please stand up. This is the best. They've heard me say, but this is the best team in higher education, and I think I've given you a lot of the whys, but another is we have a student-centered lens. You will rarely hear us say no, but you'll likely hear a how might we come out. And we didn't lower our rigor, as we know our students will need that rigor to compete and get to their next level of credential, and they do. And here's my last comment. Last week, I was notified that one of our students, a disabled military veteran, will be completing his master's degree at Harvard. And here is what he shared. Ivy Tech is where my whole life began to change for the better. I give full credit to Ivy Tech, its educators and administrators for the path I am on, and which I will be taking in the near future. A strong and large building cannot be built first without a strong and solid foundation that is planned and built correctly. Ivy Tech is my strong and solid foundation. I would not be going to Harvard if not for the outstanding education and direction given at Ivy Tech. Ivy Tech is here for all Hoosiers. We seek to help them find those good careers, and we're here to help employers who want to build world-class talent, resulting in growth and prosperity. Helping Hoosiers prosper, making Indiana stronger. Who wouldn't want that mission? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sue, for that. Thank you for saying yes to us once again, and for coming to share everything that you and your team have brought to life at Ivy Tech and for our state over the last 8 years.
Thank you.
We appreciate
It's been a true pleasure.
you coming back. And thinking about your career, spanning engineering, consulting, politics, and now higher education, what has that breadth of experience meant for your leadership approach and philosophy?
I often feel sorry for my team because being the engineer coming into things, they know there's going to be a process and we're going to think through that, and we're going to figure out a better way. I mean, that's just what IEs are trained to do, is to find that better way. And I think when you empower, you have a great team that is, the first rule of leadership is hire people who are smarter than yourselves. That's like, everyone knows that, right? That's why I can say I have the best team in higher education. They're incredibly talented. So I think from a leadership style, it's to allow them to do what they do incredibly well. Expect collaboration. We have to be great collaborators. We have to be the best partners out there. And it's been a joy. But if you said, do I have one single leadership philosophy? No. It's a lot of different pieces picked up from different places.
And a lot of similarities across.
A lot of similarities across.
Yeah. There's been a lot of attention paid, and you made some allusion to this, about the enrollment cliff, facing higher education and the implications both for our workforce and the economy. You also had talked a lot about the need for upskilling and reskilling to keep the workforce relevant. So what specifically is Ivy Tech doing to serve that upskilling and reskilling group while at the same time continuing to deliver for the traditional, albeit smaller, undergraduate population?
Yeah. You know, all parts of that enrollment are growing, so that's probably what I'm most proud of. But I think as we are working, and I talked a little bit about skills training, and I'm thankful to partners who are in the room that I won't name out just yet, who are coming alongside us to help scale that skills training. You know, many adults, 40, 50 years old, don't really think I can go back to college. But if you say, would you take this class, this skills training class, for a few $100s, or their employer says, hey, will you go do that? They'll do it, and they'll succeed, and they'll get that certification, and they'll find out. And then when they leave and they find out, oh, that class was worth 3 credits. I think I might be able to do college. We see that skills training is that next ramp. And Techonomy, who told us over 80,000 a year, we're doing about 30,000 a year. If you saw the graph, we've got a lot of work to do to scale up to meet that 80,000 demand, which is right now, and I invite other 4-year institutions to do it too, but that is space that not enough of post-secondary is really paying attention to. So I think scaling skills training, making sure that we're right alongside employers while still providing the transfer education and the dual credit and dual enrollment, all those things, all of that is important.
Okay. And then how can employers effectively collaborate with higher education to develop that talent?
I would really invite, and we have so many great examples here in the room of companies that are doing amazing partnerships, and if I start naming all of you, I'll be in big trouble because I will miss 3 of the most important ones I know. But come alongside. We have a whole function, our Career Link team with employer consultants. Molly Dodge is here. You can grab her before she leaves. Raise your hand, Molly. There she is. But our Senior VP of Workforce, really Chief Workforce Officer. But we are set up to do that, and please co-create with us, co-develop, tell us what you need. We know that we don't know your needs like you know your needs, and we will design custom for the employers. Sometimes that'll fit within a current degree offering. Sometimes we'll create a new offering. Sometimes it will be a skills training that over time may evolve into something else. So it is just a matter of reaching out to any one of our 19 very capable campus chancellors and their teams.
Okay. Well, you know, we can't think too much about the opportunity for collaboration between employers and higher ed without calling attention to Indiana's leadership across the U.S. With our Indiana apprenticeship pathway. And I know that Ivy Tech is playing a very large role in that. Is there anything in particular, you know, any elements that you'd like to talk about that have been particularly fruitful, or any relationships with employers that you think stand out as particularly transformative?
And yes, and I would say apprenticeship at 2 levels. Yes, we're the largest skilled trades, so think about all the electrical carpenters, all those pipe fitters, et cetera, but also our youth apprentice program. And I think Claire Fidian Green is here with the Fairbanks Foundation and CICP and some very amazing leading employers. In fact, Eskenazi is one of those employers at the table as we begin to think about what youth apprenticeship might look like, where a high school junior, senior can begin earning that credential. We believe every one of those youth apprentices can earn an associate degree by the time they finish their 3 years. And we know healthcare is on board, we know manufacturing is on board, we know banking is on board, IT is looking at it, other functions. So if we can find a way to engage young people and help them find their why sooner, in your workplaces, they're more likely to stay, they will have less debt, we're building this permeably, meaning that if they decide they want to get a doctorate at IU, they can go get that doctorate, they can make that change. It's an exciting time. So I'm excited because we have so many great players around the table trying to figure out how to make that work and building off of some of what we already know with traditional apprenticeship, but applying that in a much broader way in the Swiss model that will help young people be successful and employers build their talent pipelines.
Yeah, and Indiana's leading.
We're trying.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So you serve many students who have been historically underrepresented and who face unique barriers to educational attainment. Can you talk about the things that Ivy Tech does to support these underrepresented students, and then beyond that, why that support is so important, economic mobility and social equity?
We're from the time I got there, we were doing these things, but we keep getting better at doing what we will call wraparound services. But often that means emergency aid, it means mental health counseling, it means support of those students to succeed in ways that may be transportation, because they have a flat tire, et cetera. And I would look to, again, out here, all of you, thankful for the support. Many of you are help funding through your scholarships or through your donations to our Ivy Tech Foundation that help us to do those wraparound services at scale on every campus, and that continues to grow. One of the programs that I'll thank the Lilly Endowment for their help on is a program we call Ivy Achieves, where we studied what are the behaviors. We have enough students over time. We can do a lot of studies at Ivy Tech, but what are those behaviors that if every student did it, like see your advisor, you know, do your FAFSA, et cetera. So we know what those 8 or 10 behaviors are, and Ivy Achieves helps nudge that student to do every one of those. And again, you see higher retention, but you have to realize so many of these underserved students, they don't have a model at home. They don't have a parent or an aunt or a sibling that's done college before, and they have all the pressures of life, including other little ones often, that they're trying to manage. So every way we can make Ivy Tech easier for our students. I will always say we will never lower rigor, but every way we can make everything else about college easier, we need to do. So that means leaning into technology. We're now one of the most tech-enabled institutions in the country, because we need to do that to make us easier to work with. And it's a constant. We're not nearly there. We're getting there. We keep working closer and closer to being the place where every student can succeed.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And as usual, we've got some really great questions coming from the audience today. This is going to take you back to your roots. The rural economy has changed dramatically in recent decades. What is Ivy Tech's role in broadening economic opportunities in the state's rural communities?
Yeah, probably one of the things I'm most proudest of is Ivy Tech is everywhere, including in my own little area, Tell City. We have a site in Tell City. It would be much easier and cost effective if I just shut down that site. We are not shutting down those sites. It serves a population that, but for Ivy Tech, there would be no post-secondary within probably 3 counties of them. So it's really important we're there. So sometimes we invest in having a location. Now it'll be smaller, and it will offer just the programs that are most aligned to that community, but we've got to do that. In addition, it's why we have such a fully developed Ivy Online, because there are many programs today that you could take the full program online. Most of our students don't do best in online, but if that's your only option, living in a rural community, that is a really good option. And we're going to keep working on making that better for every student as well. So it is, and then I would say our dual credit, we're very intentional that in the high schools we're in all those rural high schools, including my very own Forest Park, which has about 500 high school students in it, so pretty rural, 2,200 students, people in my hometown. We're going to make sure that we're in all 400 high schools across the state. We don't look for just the big schools that are easy to serve. We will serve every small school in the state as well. And those students getting to take dual credit, or if they don't have a credentialed teacher, dual enrollment, sometimes through ICAP or other, which is a online version of that class, and free summer. We've, for the last 2 years, and we expect again this year, to do partnering with Department of Education. All those students are along their way to a credential, to finishing a credential. Some of them will qualify for DOE's funding. The other high school students, they can come to Ivy Tech for free in the summer. Now, how much better does it get than that? We had, I'm looking at Katie, how many thousand high school students did we have last summer? Just short of 10,000. Thank you for the phone a friend. But 10,000 high school students who gave up their summer to be, now, 3 hours, so it wasn't their whole summer, but they voluntarily came and completed. And I think that's part of the equity and what we expect. Now, those students are that much closer to that Indiana College Core, or that first credential that they want to earn, and ready to take on the world in a bigger way.
Great, we just got a really nice long question.
A nice long one. It's probably too long.
I may need to study this one. But we're going into the state, the legislative session.
Oh, yes, we are.
What would you want state legislators to consider as they rethink high school diploma requirements?
We have been working alongside IDOE, Secretary Jenner, as that work's been done. It's been done very collaboratively, and I would say to the General Assembly, give it a shot. This is something that it's not perfect, right? No redesign is ever perfect, but it is some really great work and will allow flexibility, will allow students to pursue those youth apprenticeships. It will allow students to gain those credentials and that work-based learning. It'll allow some students who, for whatever reason or combination of reasons, high school that doesn't fit them well today. And it will provide that ability for the high school itself, but also those partners like we are to help meet the needs of high schoolers ever better. So I'm, knock on wood, cautiously optimistic that the State Board of Education will pass that later this month, and that the General Assembly will help us lift that off.
Okay, thank you. Well, here's a nice tight question. Tell us about the new racing speed major.
The what?
You may need to phone a friend on this one. I was thinking what too. Racing speed major, do we have one of anybody?
Sports, okay. The automotive, the motor sports. Got it.
Now here's where you get to remind that everybody on your team knows.
Probably we'll need to phone a friend deeper than this one on what exactly it is. But it's in support of our, Indiana being the racing capital of the world. But yes, we do have a credential. And see Molly. Yeah. She's right there.
Here's where we remind ourselves that there's someone on.
There's 70-some programs.
Each person on your team knows more about something than you do.
Yeah.
As it should be. As it should be.
Which is another reason I can retire next summer, because they know everything.
So that's one of your newest programs, and you talked about you've got the waterfront covered in terms of various programs. So do you have any difficulty finding professors for all of these?
Again, this isn't wood, I wish it was, but knock on wood, with the exception of a few. There's a few areas, and I will say healthcare is one. As we expanded our nursing program, we will have almost doubled it. So when you add 900 additional students, you've got to have a lot of faculty. The ratio is 1 to 10 in nursing. But our hospitals and hospital systems have been wonderful partners to us. The number of your MSN nurses who will come teach for us one class. We have a few hospitals that are sharing for an entire year, faculty, kind of a sabbatical experience for their faculty to teach for us. So most areas, those relationships, if it's important to you and it's important for us to grow, we'll together figure out how to make it work. There are areas like IT that are harder than some, in some limited areas, but overall, so many Hoosiers, again, I talk about our mission. I could probably pick out 500 or more of our adjunct faculty. While they get a paycheck, it's not that big. They do it because they love to give back. They want to be in there. And there are people in here who would make wonderful adjuncts. So if you're ever interested, because it's such an opportunity to help skill up or educate your neighbors, your neighbors' kids, to live, and have your career go forward in giving back to some others. So we really are, again, don't know how we do it, but it is actually not that big of a challenge for us.
Well, I can tell you, I love it when I'm out and about and I see a big group of Ivy Tech students or any of the other students from about 40 programs who come through and get their clinical training. I just see that.
Thank you.
That's our future.
It's our future.
That's the future. Does Ivy Tech invest in any initiatives or specific environmental factors that are leading indicators of success in higher education? This gets to what we also talk about in healthcare, those social factors that drive health. So they're using the examples mental health, early childhood, physical health, other social determinants of health. If so, what impact have you seen from those initiatives?
Well, we're certainly partnering in a number of initiatives across the state, and almost everything you've said, I think what we know firsthand is, at least I can speak to. When I got to Ivy Tech, I think we had one campus that had a mental health counselor when I arrived, and now all of our C1, C2s, which are large to medium size, and even on some of our C3 smaller campuses are doing that. We know the impact there. We know we need to be more engaged or have strong partnerships with other providers on that. And I don't have the data on some of those, but boy, we know there is so many areas that we really need to get in and help early and be alongside. And I think it's one where all of us together will make the difference, but any one of us as our own institution can't solve the problem, but together we can.
Like any good problem, it's multifactorial.
It's multi-factor, for
and
sure.
It's going to take every bit of everything we've got. So you have announced that you'll retire in June of 2025. When did you know it was the right time to step down, and what do you hope will be your most enduring impact, both on Ivy Tech and the state of Indiana?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that, like, you seem like you still love. I do love, you can tell, love what I'm doing. But, okay, number one, my husband has retired twice. It's time for me to retire once. We have lived apart for almost 15 years. People don't know. My home is still in this little town of Ferdinand in southern Indiana, 2.5 hours away, which means I've burned a lot of rubber on I-64 and I-65 and now I-69, but that's a lot. And then we have 9 grandchildren.
Wow.
And many of them I've not gotten to be the grandmother that I want to be with them. So I think I knew even 3 years ago, I knew that this was probably my last contract, and I was upfront with that with the board. And as the time's gone on, even though there's pieces, my team knows, I tell them after June, you're gonna see my nose pressed against the glass all over the state of Indiana, so they better finish everything we've started. But it's time. We're in a great spot. Best team in higher education. If I stay any longer, it'll get messed up. But they're the best team, so this institution is in a great spot for a leadership change. And I think what I hope, while there's plenty of ceiling for the next president coming in, there's lots of challenges to solve. It's a good time for a transition. There's never a perfect time, but there's a good time for it. So this is going to be a
legacy.
There's I think that the IE in me, and maybe as you look at higher education at the speed of life, which is our strategic plan, it's agility, building a higher education that is agile. I don't think higher education was built not to be agile. I mean, really it was not. But being community college, we need that agility. We need to serve in every way, and whatever, like I said, agnostic on what the skill, whether it's skills or degrees or certificates, we need to do what's needed to help students succeed, because no one comes to community college to leave poor. It's always a part. They want to prosper. They want to have a career they can be proud of. They want to make a difference, but they really do need to prosper, right? It's one of the main reasons. So we have to figure out how we're going to help them do that. And the way we're going to do that is partner with each of you as employers to figure out what you need, how we can help them get there and make sure. So the agility that I see, the pace of change is rapid, and it's only going to get more rapid. And I hope that I will have left behind, and that we will have built in a muscle of agility. I know there's great talent, and I know we'll always do the educating. We have amazing faculty that'll pour into the students and are great in their classroom. We have to be agile in meeting needs going forward. So I hope that's legacy.
Well, it's clear you have a lot of energy, so I think you'll be. There'll be a time when you'll find, there'll always be contribution.
There will be.
To be made.
There will be.
And your energy has carried us through to the end of our time together. We very much, again, thank you for joining us today. Let's give Dr. Ellspermann a big round of applause.